عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Today's class, inshallah, we'll be discussing zakah in detail. So the end of this workshop, inshallah, this 2-day workshop today and next week, inshallah, that will take us to the end of our classes this term before Ramadan. A person will know and have a good idea as to how to calculate zakah and the details in calculating zakah. Even though we have 2 days, we still have to kind of rush it through a little bit. But as I mentioned, this is an interactive session. Ask questions, right? This is actually about a 5-day workshop, 4 or 5 days workshop. We try to concise it. We start with the legal ruling of zakah, right? The legal ruling of zakah. And the reason why we start with the ruling of zakah, a person listen, we need to know, okay, what is the ruling of something before, if something is obligatory, something is just mustahab, something is just recommended, something is just optional. We know, like if a person wants to perform 2 rakah salah now, that is optional, he would be rewarded. And if he doesn't perform it, he would not be sinful. This is something what is called any voluntary, any tatawwa'an. But regards to zakah is obligatory. Alright? Zakah, Allah Azza wa Jalla has mandated, Allah Azza wa Jalla has made it any obligatory. And we understand the whole concept of obligation, something being fard. Something which is obligatory and fard, it means that you and I, we don't have a choice in the matter. Simple as that. If something is obligatory, I don't have a choice in the matter. Allah Azza wa Jalla has made the 5-time daily salah obligatory. I can't pray today, no, I have to go pour a spade. We don't have that choice, right? We don't have that choice to say, okay, we're going to perform salah or not. That is obligatory and mandatory upon us. Allah Azza wa Jalla has made zakah obligatory upon obligatory upon a person, then he doesn't have the right to exercise his opinion. Right? He doesn't have an opinion, he doesn't have a choice in the matter. وَمَا كَانَ لِمُؤْمِنٍ وَلَا مُؤْمِنَةٍ إِذَا قَضَى اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَمْرًا أَن يَكُونَ لَهُمْ الْخِيَرَةُ مِنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned it is not befitting of a believer. This is not a believer when Allah Azza wa Jal, whether it be a man or a woman, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Rasul has decreed something, has made it obligatory, it is not befitting of them that they have a choice in the matter. I don't have to do that, I would do it. We don't have a choice in the matter. So the obligation of zakah is established in the Quran, is established in the ahadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and it is established from ijma', the consensus of the ummah. So a person upon whom zakah is obligatory, he does not do it, he does not pay zakah, then that person is committing a major sin. Understand the commands of Allah Azza wa Jalla of 2 types. Fi'l wa tarq. To do and not to do. So to do is a command of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and not to do is a command of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that thing that Allah Azza wa Jal commands to do, and a person he doesn't do it, then he is not, that person is contradicting the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. That person is disobeying the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. So that person upon whom any zakah is obligatory and he refuses to pay zakah, then that person is committing a major sin. That person is committing a major sin. And the ulama, they have mentioned that a person who deliberately leaves off salah, leaves off fasting, and these mandatory obligatory acts, that person, he is worse than sharrun minazani wa mudmin al-khamar. That person, his action is worse than that of a zani, a fornicator, and a perpetual drink of alcohol. Sometimes a person will say, I don't perform salah, but I don't drink alcohol, I don't gamble, right? That person should know, if that person is that one who is drinking alcohol or committing fornication, right? He, on top of that sin, yes, it is a sin, it's a major sin, But despite that he is performing his salah, then he is better than that person who is what? Not committing fornication, not what? Gambling, and at the same time not performing salah. There's something very important. The command of Allah Azza wa Jal, what is what? Understand the hukum. What is fard? What does that mean? What is wajib? What is sunnah? What is sunnah muakkada? What is mustahab? What is mandub? What is mubah? All these things that has what? A rule and an implication. Something a person what? He gives what? For example, and we can all relate to this. A person spend the entire night performing what? Qiyamul Layl, Tahajjud, entire night. He probably read about 100 rak'ah. Probably read about half of the Quran. Right? Qiyamul Layl, Tahajjud. But that person deliberately did not perform Salat al-Fajr. That person what? He was negligent with regard to Salat al-Fajr. All that rak'ah he performed is of it will never equate or what? Replace that what? That Salat al-Fajr. That person will be sinful. That person is committing a major sin. As opposed to that person who didn't perform what? At night, no tahajjud. And he what? Woke up and performed Salat al-Fajr. Falaq al-Nas, 2 minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That person in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal is what? Better than what? The first. Why? Because Allah Azza wa Jal made this one, this 2 rakah, mandatory, obligatory. That what we do in the night, yes, that is what? Virtuous, right? It is virtuous, but the hukum remains at what? It is what? It is what? Something that is what? Voluntary. It is nafil. A person, it would never replace that. Same would apply to what? Fasting in the month of Ramadan. Fast in the month of Ramadan, one fast. If a person would have fast the entire year, nafil. But the fast of Ramadan, he would leave out khalas. That person is committing a major sin. And that can never replace that 30 days. 300 and what? 35 days would never replace that what? That 30 days. That's something we need to understand. Sometimes we pay more attention to that which is what? Optional than that which is what? Obligatory upon us. The hadith of what? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, hadith al-Qudsi, Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned that لا يتقرب العبد إلي بشيء أحب إلي مما افترضت عليه. No servant of mine can get closeness to me. No servant of mine can get my pleasure, can get closeness to me unless and until they do that which is obligatory upon them. Until they do that which I have made obligatory and further upon them. After fulfilling that, فَمَا يَزَالُ يَتَقَرَّبُ إِلَيَّ بِالنَّوَافِلِ. You want to get more closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, this is where the nawafil would come in. With the nawafil. But that person, if you were to leave off all the fara'id, he would never get close to Allah Azza wa Jal with his nawafil. What about a person who negates the compulsion? One is what a person doesn't pay zakah. He doesn't perform salah because of negligence, because of da'fil iman, because of weak iman. That person, yes, a sinner, fasiq, fajir, except that person is still a Muslim. That person is still a Muslim. As opposed to a person who negates the compulsion of zakah. He negates the compulsion of zakah, and we discussed the same thing when we spoke about fasting in the month of Ramadan last year. A person negates the compulsion. Listen, zakah not compulsory, Hey, that is your money. Nobody can tell you what to do with your money. Right? I don't have to pay zakah. Right? I don't have to. If I want to give, I can give. And how much I want and how much I feel to give, I would give. Zakah is not obligatory upon me. Right? So he believes that zakah is not obligatory upon him. Or zakah is not something obligatory in Sharia. That person has what? Left the fold of Islam. That person becomes an apostate, a murtad, which is what? A kafir, a disbeliever. All of his good deeds tuhbat a'maluhu, all of his good deeds are destroyed. The good deeds for all the actions he did in the past, his hajj and his umrah and his fast and his Quran, his salah, all of his deeds are destroyed. That person, if he dies, obviously he's a non-believer. Salatul Janazah would not be performed on that person. That person would not be buried in a Muslim cemetery. وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ, and the abode of that person is in the fire of Jahannam. Despite that person what? Adhering to other tenets of faith. What does that mean? He negates the compulsion of zakah. He negates the compulsion of what? Fasting in the month of Ramadan. You don't have to do that. If you have time, then you don't have to do that. It's not obligatory. Alright? But you know what? He's still performing salah. You understand you have to perform salah. So even he probably makes hajj also. Right? Umrah, Qurbani. So even though he may adhere to other tenets of faith, that person is an apostate and a murtad. And this is by consensus of the ulama. Now, when we speak about zakah, understand, is how we look at it. Understand, look at it through the lens of the Sharia. When we say, okay, zakah, who benefits from zakah? The majority of people would say, well, the poor man, he benefits from the zakah. If I give you what, $5,000 zakah, you benefit from that 5,000, you utilize it, right? So the poor person benefits from the zakah. Understand? Who actually benefits from the zakah? Zakah, it benefits the payer. Zakah, it benefits the payer more, way more than it benefits what? The recipient. When you give zakah, what you are doing? You are doing an act of ibadah. You are doing an act of worship. Receiving zakah is not an act of worship. The poor person, he will say, you know what, today I'm going to do what? Lots of ibadah. I'm going to ask everybody for zakah. No, that is not the act of ibadah. But you now, you what? Today, I'm going to what? Pay my zakah. I'm going to give zakah to the poor. That is an act of ibadah. Who benefits from the act of ibadah? The person himself. And you know what? We need that poor person to complete our ibadah. If I give my zakat to a rich person, that is not considered. If I give my zakat to a rich person, he's not a recipient, I have to pay over my zakat. So for my zakat to be considered an act of ibadah, that recipient, he must be a poor person. And he benefited me. He is benefiting me. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions in Quran, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ بِهَا وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, take from them zakah, take from them sadaqah, which is zakah, take from the rich zakah. What it does? تُطَهِّرُهُمْ, that cleanses the heart of the payer. When we give zakah, the payer, he gives zakah, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, that cleanses his heart. It removes what? Hubbud dunya, the love for the worldly things. It softens his heart. It removes what? The diseases of what? Malice and greed from his heart. Tutahhiruhum wa tuzakkihim. It cleanses what? That person's nafs. It cleanses his what? His heart. It purifies his heart. Here Allah Azza wa Jalla is speaking about the payer, not the recipient. He is speaking about what? The payer and not the recipient. The payer, he benefits. And if we understand that, listen, you're so hungry, you go to buy what? A box of food, a box of barbecue, $40. Would you ever think that this $40 is benefiting what? The vendor? You know, when I give this vendor $40, he could go and what? Buy things for his family. He could maintain his what? Wife. That don't ever cross our mind. When we give the $40, we get the food and it benefits ourselves. Right? It removes our hunger. No one says, you know what? You have a security guard. You pay this man what? $3,000, $4,000 for the month to guard your entire estate. Right? But no one would come and say, you know what? That man, I benefiting him, you know, I giving him 3,000-4,000 every month to see about his wife and family. No, yeah, he's benefiting you. So when we give what zakah to the poor, we have been benefited. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِ الصَّدَقَاتِ. Allah Azza wa Jal protects our wealth when we give zakah. When he pays zakah, his wealth is protected. When he pays zakah, Allah Azza wa Jal yurbi sadaqat, Allah Azza wa Jal increases his wealth. So look how many benefits, and up to now we are reaching the recipient as yet. Yes, he would benefit from the 5,000. He would benefit from the 500. But the payer, he would benefit more. And if we understand that, listen, if we understand that, we would what? We would do things differently. You as a businessman, this man bringing in what? $200,000 every week in your business, this customer, right? So you hear this customer coming by your shop or coming by your business, you will have him what? Waiting by the counter. He call you one time, call him in the office, where you want tea, coffee. This man bringing in revenue, 200,000-300,000 every single week. So how you treat that person? But the question here now, that 200,000-300,000 he bringing in, how much blessings you getting for that? You as the what? The owner of the business, how much blessings you getting for that? We don't know. But when you give zakat to the poor, you getting blessings because of the poor person. So if that is the case, how we have the poor people receiving zakat? Put them in a line over there. You know what? We not even meeting them. When he come, just give him that. When that man come, just give him that. We not even allowing to come in the office. Hey, how you going and this and that. Hey, this is where you're getting your rewards. Not the man that bringing you $200,000 for the week. It's the poor man that you giving his zakah. That is an act of ibadah. Your revenue coming into you, that is not an act of ibadah. You giving the poor, and because of him being a poor person, your act of ibadah is what? Accepted, is completed. But sometimes we don't want to see that person. And then when he do come, the amount of question we ask him, we interrogate him like if we some welfare officer. And this is how it is. And this is something that what? In the society, and what you need that what al-asaf al-shadid, something that is very unfortunate. Look at it through that lens. That poor man benefiting me. Zakah, understand? Zakah is not what? A tax. 2.5%. Well, how much are they give this year? 10,000, 20,000, and you're feeling the burden. Wala hawla wala quwwata illa billah. You're feeling the burden, and you know what? And you don't want to. You think it's hard to give all one time. It's too much. You know, just peace. I won't feel it. Understand? Zakah is an investment. Zakah is what? An investment. And I put this chart over here to see how much is actually the zakah that what we pay. The zakah that we pay is, this is how much. You see this, what the gold part over there, that's a slice of the cake. You're 2.5%. This is how much you pay. That little thing, that's how much you pay. And this is all your wealth here, the black one. 97.5% remain with you. 97.5% remain. And you know what? You're getting blessings for the 2.5%. As for the 97.5%, we getting blessings for that? What are we getting for that? But for sure that, listen, that 2.5% we getting blessings for it. And if we know the amount of blessings we're going to get for that, we will increase that to we want to give more than that. So it's not a burden, right? It is not a burden. A person gives zakah with pleasure to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya Allah, this is your command, khalas sami'na wa ata'na, and this is what we do, right? We give for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, seeking rewards. And whatever we give, it would remain. Whatever we give, it would remain. Whatever remains, khalas. What happens to it? Yeah, all that comes up inshallah. We're going that in the details inshallah. Look at the hadith of Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. And this is for us to contemplate. Someone slaughtered a sheep and sent it what? Gifted to the house of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, a sheep. And people what? During the course of the day they came what? Knocking at her door, begging, poor people, right? So she gave. But she kept back the shoulder. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he loved the shoulder. Right? From all the parts of the animal, he would what? He would love the shoulder. So she gave everything and she kept the shoulder for what? Nabi alayhi salam. When Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam returned home, right? She mentioned the incident, what happened during the course of the day. And she said, what? Ma bakiya illa al-katif. Right? Nothing remained except what? The shoulder. Because she gave everything. And she mentioned nothing remained except the shoulder. And Nabi alayhi salam mentioned everything remained except the shoulder. No, she said no. Everything what? Left. Type nothing remained. Only the shoulder. Here Nabi alayhi salam said no. Everything beside the shoulder remain. What does that mean? What you have given for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, that would remain. The rewards and the thawab would remain for you. You would receive that reward, that thawab. وَمَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. All that a person spends in the path of Allah Azza wa Jal, that would remain for him. The rewards would remain for him. Right? So, this 2.5%, this is where we get the rewards from. As for the 97.5%, yes, it's halal and permissible. Whatever we want to do, it was halal and permissible. Where are the rewards coming from? At 2.5%. Alright, then we have the consequences of not paying zakah, the ayats and ahadith. Not going into that. Alright. Understand the concept of what? Wealth in Islam. And we dealt a little with this when we were speaking about the inheritance, right? Sometimes people don't want to part with money and this and that, but if they understand the concept of wealth, Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentioned, Lillahi ma fis samawati wa ma fil ard. Everything in the heavens and earth belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, all that money that we have, it belongs to Allah, but I work real hard, I make real effort. Yeah, it belongs to Allah. It's just a trust. He entrusts us with that. We are not the real owners of that. Who alladhi yughni? He gives what He makes a person rich. He makes a person poor. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has instructed us how to use His property. If I lend you my vehicle, I lend you my phone or something, right? I have the right to tell you how to use it. Why? Because it is mine. If it is yours, you can use it however you want to use it. Right? This is mine, this is not yours. So use it like this. These are the instructions. Allah Azza wa Jal give us, entrust us with wealth. People say, listen, my child, I can do whatever I want with my child. No, you can't do whatever you want with your child. That is what? That is from Allah Azza wa Jal. When a child dies, what we say? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. No, we acknowledge that, okay, that come from Allah. Everything, that is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my tongue, I can say whatever I want. No, we can't say whatever we want with the mouth. It is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He has instructed us every single ni'm of His. He has instructed us clearly how it should be used. And if we use it other than that, we are misusing the ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. That is misuse. Right? Question? Right? You mean the recipient? Right? I mean, his sin is unfortunate. Him drinking alcohol, right? On drugs, this and that, that is what? A sin. These are what? Major sins, right? But the bottom line here now is that person what? Eligible recipient of zakah, right? So if he's a what? A legit, eligible recipient of zakah, then he could be given zakah. But you as an individual, listen, you know what? That person, I'm not going to give him money. Even though he poured the last $10, $20 he have instead of he buy food with or give it to the family, what he going to do? He going to drink. He going to smoke. Right? But you know what? He's a recipient. So what you do? Khalas, don't give him money. Give him food. Right? This is yours. And you know what? You take it to the house too, so the wife could collect it. If the wife is Muslim and she's a recipient, give it to her. Right? And normally what? Recipients are Muslim. So if he's a Muslim, then his wife would be a Muslim. Right? Generally, right? So what? Don't give it to him, give it to what? The wife, give it to the children who are, if they are recipients also.
So if somebody approaches you and say, well, look, okay, I eligible for zakah, give me some zakah, are you obligated to give that individual zakah?
No. Remember, you could give to whomsoever you want to give. Right? Yes, you have, okay, who is better to give? Right? Huh? No, zakah cannot, understand, zakah is a ibadah. You can't give to non-Muslim. Right? It doesn't mean that what? You can't help non-Muslims. No. Give them from what? Your 97.5%. Right? Your parents, right? Even though they're poor. The children, even though they're poor, you can't give them your zakah. So when they're poor, what are we going to do? Give them from your 97.5%. Right? Understand? Zakah is what? Just like what? Salah. Specific amount of raka'at, specific things, what we recite in every pot. Khalas. In zakah, what? There's a specific way how you calculate it, a specific amount you give, what? And what is specific people you give it to. Alright? Right? We come into all of that, right? We come into all of that now. So what was the definition of yani? Zakah. I think these two classes we had around a little late. Right? The definition of zakat is normal. This was actually the first slide, but I brought it down over here a little later. The definition of zakah: تمليك جزء مال مخصوص من مال مخصوص لشخص مخصوص عينه الشارع لوجه الله تعالى. Translation: the transfer of ownership of a specified portion of wealth, and we'll break it down and unpack it inshallah during the course of the session. The transfer of ownership of a specific portion of wealth from a specific amount of wealth onto specific individuals specified by the Sharia for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So why we mention all of this? Hey, zakah, this is the definition of zakah. So not every charity we give is zakah. No, I give zakah already, you know. Charity different, donation different, hampers different, yani relief fund different, these things different. Alright? Zakah, there's certain what specifics that must be meant for that what obligation of zakah to be how you call it, executed or to be fulfilled. So upon whom zakah is obligatory, we just mention and we'll what? Unpack it also, right? Zakah is obligatory upon every what? Sane, mature Muslim. Right? Sane, mature Muslim. So that person is what? Insane, mad, and he possesses wealth, he doesn't have to give zakah. Now the guardians would not have to give zakah from the wealth of that insane person. Right? Mature, he reaches the age of what? Bulugh, ritual and immaturity, where salah becomes obligatory upon him. So if a child, right, that is not baligh, owns wealth, there is no zakah on that. Right? There is no zakah on the wealth of a child. And thirdly, what? Khalas, Muslim. Right? As we mentioned, Muslim, right? So when what? Mr. Rowley handed out what? The $5 in San Fernando, he not given zakah. He given charity, right? He given charity, right? Who possesses zakatable assets? Understand? Zakatable assets. So we mean zakatable assets. Yes, assets of two types, and we'll go into details after. This is just the definition here. Assets of two types. You have what? Zakatable assets, and you have non-zakatable assets. What are zakatable assets? What are non-zakatable assets? We'll mention afterwards, inshallah. equal to or what in surplus of the nisab. What is the nisab also? We'll go into that, and listen, you'll check your own nisab. You don't have to get what? A printout from a jamia. You have to wait for us to print out the nisab or the darun to print out the nisab. Khalas, you'll check it yourself, right? We'll show you how to check the nisab. What? After deducting what? Liabilities, right? What are liabilities? We'll mention inshallah after the completion of 1 lunar year, right? So what's important? Listen, a person has what you call a zakah anniversary. Many people, if you have to ask, so when you pay zakah, I pay zakah in Ramadan, right? Understand? Is there any hadith stating that what you have to pay zakah in Ramadan or zakah is obligatory in Ramadan? No, right? Why everybody pays zakah in Ramadan? That's a good question, right? But understand, zakah becomes obligatory upon a person when he what 1 year passes over what? His nisab, right? So it means that, listen, today is what? Say what? Today is the 12th of what? Sha'ban? 10, 12, say the 12th of Sha'ban. Say I never possessed the nisab in my life before. Look how you checking your anniversary, right? We know the check, okay, we wedding anniversary, same way we checking it. I never possessed the nisab before in my life, right? Today, the 10th of Sha'ban, I what? Became the owner of the nisab, right? So that I don't have to pay zakah now. I don't have to pay zakah. Next year, 10th of Sha'ban. Next year, 10th of Sha'ban, after the passing of a lunar year. Next year, 10th of Sha'ban, right? I will check and see if I still have the nisab. If I have the nisab, then I will have to pay zakah. The calculation we'll do it afterwards, but I would have to pay zakah. What about the fluctuations that occur within that what? Within the two extreme. So I got the what? The nisab today, the 10th of Sha'ban, but tomorrow I spend some, then I spend more, and I spend more, then I get some, and I spend, it fluctuates like that, right? What happens in the middle is irrelevant. That is irrelevant. Come next year, 10th of Sha'ban, I have the nisab, but I have to pay zakah. But on the 9th of Sha'ban, right? The 9th of Sha'ban, or the 8th of Sha'ban, right? The 8th of Sha'ban, all I have is what? $100. The 8th of Sha'ban. But now, the day after what? The 10th of Sha'ban, khalas, I get what? $50,000. $50,000. Now the 10th of Sha'ban, I have that $50,000 with me, right? After checking up all the expenses or whatever, I remembered $50,000. I have to pay zakah. Only 1 day pass over that, not a whole year. A whole year I have to pass over that. 1 day and I have to pay zakah. Right? So once I understand here. So why the 10th of Sha'ban is what? My zakah anniversary is because what? It is a year after I initially what? Possessed my nisab. Right? I know if you ask many people the question, hey, when was the first time you ever possessed the nisab? I don't know. Right? 99% of people say what? But I can't remember. Right? So if you can't remember, what you have to do, you still have to set a date. Set a date and work with that every single year. And most people, what they set a date in Ramadan. But the mistake they make, and the issue, the problem over here now, they say what? We pay zakah in Ramadan. Right? Or we calculate our zakah in Ramadan. No. Your date must be what? Specified. Ramadan has 29 days, 30 days. Understand? Understand how the zakah anniversary works, right? How the zakah anniversary works. Just say what? Just because of most people pay zakah in Ramadan, we use a date in Ramadan. The 27th of Ramadan, right, is a person's zakatable anniversary. If that person on the 27th of Ramadan, 1 day before his zakah anniversary, on the 26th of Ramadan, he spent what? $10 million. That has nothing to do with zakah. Come on, 27, he doesn't have it. That has nothing to do with zakah. That person now, on the 29th of Ramadan, he would acquire $10 million on the 29th. Has nothing to do with zakah. This is your anniversary. So that is why a person can't say, I pay in zakah in Ramadan. When you calculate, understand, you could pay any time, you know. But you're calculating. Your calculation must be a specific date. That is your zakah anniversary. Right? Every single day of your life, most of the time, what? You have fluctuations in your asset, your wealth. You give, you take, you buy, you sell, whatever. People come and thief your wealth, go sometime, right? You have fluctuations. Come the 27th of Ramadan, this is your zakah anniversary. This is a snapshot. At that particular time, that particular day, all your zakatable assets here. All your liabilities here. You minus what? The second from the first. Right? The 3 stages simple. The 3 stages in what? There's just 3 steps in calculating zakat. Right? We mentioned that just now. But here what is important? Your date must be constant. It must not be what? A variable date. No. That must be fixed every single year. Right? Unless partner you're bankrupt. So if you're bankrupt, you have no anniversary. Yeah. I don't know, after marriage to the marriage, I work out divorce. What anniversary you celebrate? You have no anniversary, you have no wife, you have no marriage. So similarly, your zakah anniversary is the 27th of Ramadan. Right? Despite whatever fluctuation happens within the year, right? Unless within the year person comes totally bankrupt, then what? You have no anniversary again, right? You become totally bankrupt, and afterwards now you're possessing the sub once again. So that date now you check from that 1 year from that date, right? So this is very important, right? No, it must be what? The lunar calendar. Because when it's the passing of a lunar year, right? It's the passing of a lunar year. So if you use what? Your birthday, right? What you can do is probably backtrack your birthday, what Islamic date it fell on, and you use that right through if you want to use your birthday. Right? Backtrack it, and then my birthday, right? And that year was around what? The 10th of Muharram. Alright, I'm going to use that 10th of Muharram every year. Right? So we do use the 1st of January or the 10th of June. No. It must be what? From the what? The lunar, the Islamic calendar. Right? So understand, the paying of zakah. The paying of zakah could be done what? At any time. Alright? Anytime. The earlier the better. Why? Because it's connected to the needs of the poor. The rights of the poor, right? But what we mentioned over here, the calculation is a specific date. You calculate on what? The 27th of Ramadan, and you could give the 28, 29, you could give it what? The next month afterwards, after 2 months, right? Earlier better, but the calculation part, how much you own, right? Your zakatable assets, your liabilities, all of that one specific day. And understand, if a person actually knows when his zakatable anniversary is, right? And if it is what? For example, what before the month of Ramadan, for example, his zakatable anniversary is what? The month of Rajab, right? The question here now, if my zakatable anniversary is on the 15th of what? Rajab, right? The 15th of Rajab, which is in a month and a half before Ramadan, right? Is it virtuous for me to delay my zakah until Ramadan with the intent that, listen, if I give it in Ramadan, the blessings are more? No. Understand? No. My zakah, your zakah on the whole, it belongs to what is connected to the rights of the poor. So why a person would not be rewarded for withholding that which what? The poor is deserving of. You understand? So understand, to withhold that which is due to the poor without a valid reason, there is no fadila and there is no what blessings in that. that. There's no what extra rewards in that, right? It belongs. Listen, I give you what $10,000. This $10,000, give it to Zaid, right? Give it to Zaid. It belongs to Zaid. The zakat belongs to the poor. We just have to give it. So give this 10,000 to Zaid. So you watching to see now what when Zaid in a good mood, right? When Zaid behaving himself, when Zaid, me and Zaid good or we talk. No, that is Zaid's. So the quicker I give it to Zaid, khalas, I fulfill that obligation, right? Unless there's a valid reason. Listen, right now, right? I'm not finding what much poor people. The month of Ramadan, okay, the poor people, they would come, you know, they would come and they would approach me and I would give them, right? Or there are certain what poor people you want to give and you would only find them in the month of Ramadan. Like that, you know what? So you have a valid reason, but just to withhold your zakah, right, which is due to the poor, withhold it, just waiting for Ramadan to come to give, that is not what virtuous in that. Right, so the 3 steps in what? Calculating zakah. 3 steps in calculating zakah. Simple. And at the end of this workshop, inshallah, everybody would know how to what? Calculate zakah. Right? You have what you call zakatable assets. We'll mention what are zakatable assets, but understand, you list all the zakatable assets here. You total it. Right? You list it, you total $100,000. Right? $100,000. This is what? Your zakatable assets. Now what? You list all your liabilities, your debts. What are liabilities we had mentioned just now, right? But you list all your liabilities. And when you're doing that, hey, on the this is what? The 27th of Ramadan. This is my zakatable what? Anniversary. At that time, forget what I spent before, what you intend to spend afterwards. No, what you have on the 27th of Ramadan. So you know what? You listen what? Your liabilities. So you have your figure here. Right? So what you have? $60,000, right? $60,000 liability. So what you do now? You minus what? The 60 from 100. How much we have? $40,000, right? 40,000 remain. You call that what? Your net zakatable asset. Just like you have your revenues, and after what your revenue, you minus all your costs. You know, you have what? You have what? Your profit and net profit. Here, zakatable assets, liabilities. You take away what? You take away the second from the first, you have what you call net zakatable asset. So what we do with this figure here now, right now the figure is what? $40,000. Alright? We see now, we look and see if that figure, it equates the nisab. Alright? When you say equate what? Equal or more than nisab. Right? Alright, then what? You have to pay zakah. If it is less than nisab, you don't have to pay zakah. You don't have to check nothing again. You don't have to pay zakah. If it is less than the nisab, right? If it is what this, it is the value of the nisab or more, you have to pay zakah. Okay, how much you have to pay now? That amount you multiply by what? 2.5%. 2.5% is what? 1/40th. Easy calculation. 0.025. Not 0.25, no, 0.025. You would get what? 1,000. 1/40th of what? Of 40,000 is 1,000. $1,000 zakah. Right? $1,000 zakah. 1, 2, 3. Simple, right? Except we have to know, okay, what are zakatable assets? What are liabilities? Right? Otherwise, the calculations what is very simple. And also what? Nisab, we'll speak about Nisab inshallah. So we could summarize, okay, what are zakatable assets, right? The form over there that we normally would distribute in the Jamia, right, every year. All what? Assets, liabilities. The Darul also, they have a form, assets minus the liabilities, right? Then after they multiplied by 0.025, right? But this whole list of what? Zakatable assets, right? Actually what? Comes from what? Just 3 listed, 3 categories, right? That makes up your zakatable asset. The 3 categories, understand? The first is what? Gold, silver, jewelry, right? Gold, silver, forget the intent. Personal use, for this one, for that one, I have it as an ornament, I have it as a ring, I have it as a, it doesn't matter. Once you possess gold and silver, right, using, not using, what, it doesn't matter. Once you are the owner of gold and silver, that is a zakatable asset. How are we going to check that? There are specific way in checking that we'll mention afterwards. Alright, but gold, that is zakatable, right? But I am selling it, I not wearing it, Once you possess gold, silver, whatever form, it is what? A zakatable asset. This is this column here, right? Second, once you possess cash currency, right? TT, US, whatever, euros, Canadian, pounds, once you possess what? Cash, whatever currency, it doesn't matter. Whatever is the intent, I intend to do this, I intend to do that, I just save it in the bank below the mat, it doesn't matter. You are the owner of currency, cash, that is a zakatable asset. But this is to what? To build a house for my son, this is to buy a car for my son, this is to go for Hajj, the intent is what? Irrelevant. Once you are the possessor of it, that becomes a zakatable asset. Alright? And the third one now, right, it depends on what? Your intention. This is what? It comes under what? Commodities for trade, stock for trade, a tradable item. Understand? When you speak about a tradable item, that is by definition of the Sharia, right? If I intend to sell this what? This laptop I have, I intend to sell it now. Alright? It's not a zakatable asset. Right? It's not considered any item for trade. Alright? What is an item for trade? In what? In calculating zakah. An item for trade, a zakatable what? Item for trade is that item that you purchase with the intent of resale. You purchase with the intent of selling. Right? You don't have to be a businessman. Yes, this is not what the businessman does. But you don't have to be what a businessman. Alright? But generally this is what the businessmen they do. They purchase with the intent of resale. They purchase with the intent of trade. Right? Understand here? We reiterate. How does a person become the owner of something? You could become the owner of something by what? How a person becomes the owner of an item? You buy it, you purchase it. How else? Inherit. People give them as a gift. Right? And like that. So this is how you become the owner of something. Right? So if I what? Purchase this item, alright, this phone, and the time of purchasing this phone, I purchased with the intent of resale. This is a zakatable asset at source. What does that mean at source? Come the 27th of Ramadan, when I check in my zakatable assets, my gold, my silver, my cash, I have to put the value of this also. But I sell it yet? No, still. That is a zakatable asset. I purchase this with the intent of sale, trade. It becomes a zakatable asset. If you give me this phone, right? You give me this phone, right? A gift. Remember gift, right? I could be the owner of something through gift, right? I received the gift. Upon receiving this gift from you, right? I already have a phone. You know, my intention is to sell it. It does not become a zakatable asset. Purchase with the intent of trade. That is what a zakatable asset. I inherit some property, understand, other than gold, silver, and cash. Gold, silver, cash, however it comes in your possession, that is zakatable. Doesn't matter. Through inheritance, through gift, whatever, that is zakatable. Right? Understand, gold, silver, it doesn't matter what is your intent and how what you receive that. Right? Once it's lawful. Right? Whether it be inheritance, whether it be trade, whether somebody lend it, that is yours, that is zakatable. What do you mean vehicle? When you buy the vehicle, what do you intend to do with the vehicle? What do you intend to do with it? Sell it? Right, so khalas. So you could buy what? Understand? You could buy the whole street, right? Our houses or whatever. I'm not going to sell that. That's for my children and grandchildren. I'm going to make what? A community, whatever. That is not zakatable. You understand? Understand? I buy what? A pin with the intent of resale. That pin is zakatable, right? I buy the pin factory, but I intend to sell it. I intend to rent it out, right? Rent it for somebody, right? Or give it away. That's not zakatable, right? Purchase with the intent of resale. That is zakatable. Purchase with the intent of resale, right? So we have a few scenarios here now. Listen, what about that person who what? Purchase not with the intent of resale. Purchase an item not with the intent of resale, obviously is what is not a zakatable asset. But if afterwards now he decides to sell it, hey, I'm getting some money for this boy, right? He intends to sell it afterwards, right? It still does not become a zakatable asset. Come 27th of Ramadan, you're not checking that. You understand? You're not checking that. But listen, if you happen to sell it and you acquire the money, the cash, and that cash remains with you, come 27th of Ramadan, that is a zakatable asset. You're not going to put on that word, tradable item, that is cash, right? That is cash, not a tradable asset, right? Even animals too, right? Even animals, right? So you purchase animals, so what? I purchase this bull to sell, right? Zakatable asset. I purchase this bull for breeding, non-zakatable asset. I purchase what? 20 cows, but for milk, not a zakatable asset. You understand? You didn't purchase the cow for what? For resale, right? You purchase the cow for milk. You understand? But if you purchase a cow to sell it over to somebody, you're doing business who want to use it for whatever he wants to use it for, well, you purchase the cow with the intent of trade. Okay, the cow becomes a zakatable asset. But if you purchase that cow just for the milk, right? Your intent is not what? To sell the cow, right? So it is what? The cow is not a zakatable asset, nor is the milk a zakatable asset. Nor is the milk a zakatable asset. But yes, after selling the milk, right? After selling the milk, and that money happens to what? Be in your possession come the 27th of Ramadan, cash, right? Understand? You purchase what? You purchase a vehicle for sale, right? You purchase a car with the intent of what? Resale, right? Purchase for what? 60,000, sell for what? 70,000, whatever you want to sell afterwards, right? You purchase with the intent of what? Resale, right? That car, that one car, that is a zakatable asset. Come 27th of Ramadan, that car in your possession, that is the value of it will be in your zakatable asset, right? You purchase 20 vehicles, 20, not one, but 20 vehicles you purchase to rent out, right? That is not a zakatable asset. The 20 vehicles is not not zakatable asset. Yes, but the rental income, these are what? Zakatable asset on the cash, right? You purchase what? An entire what? 2-3 apartment buildings with the intent of renting, right? With the intent of renting it. That is what? Not zakatable. Yeah? But all, yes, why? His intent is not trade, not resale. But the rental income is what? Zakatable if it remains in his property come 27th, in his possession come the 27th of Ramadan. Understand the point we're making here is what? Purchase with the intent of trade, right? Understand? Trade, resale, what that does, it transfers ownership. Rent doesn't transfer ownership. Understand? When you sell something, it leaves your property. When you rent something, right, the tenant benefits from it while the property remains in your ownership, right? So they benefit from what? The manafi', right? They benefit from the property. Otherwise, the property, you are the owner of the property, right? As opposed to what? Trade, that leaves your ownership, right? So purchase with the intent of trade, that is a zakatable asset, right? So there's 1, 2, right? The first one is what? Purchase with the intent of trade, it's a zakatable asset. Purchase not with the intent of trade, then afterwards intends trade, still not as a zakatable asset. The third one, a person what? Purchase with the intent of trade, to sell over, alright? Then afterwards, khalas, at that point is a zakatable asset, alright? Thereafter he decides, I'm not going to sell this, I'm going to keep it, right? Traded in vehicles and this and that, and you buy one with intent of what? Trade it, then afterwards, your wife come and say she like it, the son like it, or you yourself, I keeping this for me, right? Khalas. It does not become a zakatable asset anymore, right? That's the difference. It does not become a zakatable asset anymore. But if in the future you decide to sell it, right, and you put it up for sale, still, it does not what? Become a zakatable asset. If, however, he were to sell it and he receives what? The cash, that cash remains in his what? Possession come 27th of Ramadan. That is zakatable. Right? That is zakatable. Jewelry, okay, we're going in jewelry, good, very good. Jewelry, right? Good question, right? Understand, jewelry, when you check in what? Gold, silver, you don't check what? Craftsmanship. You don't check a market value, you check the weight, right? If you have what? A piece of gold, raw gold, that khalas, then you call it nukra, just what? The rock itself. You need 10 grams. And you spend what? $3,000 to make that 10 grams of gold into a nice piece of jewelry, right? When you're checking your zakah, you still go by weight, right? 10 grams, 10 grams, right? 10 grams, 10 grams. What's important about you? Listen. You look at weight and you look at what? Carat value, right? Weight and what? Carat value, right? Give my quality in good? Good, right? So listen. What we're going to check, right? Understand. When we see the nisab printed on what? These what pamphlets that we distribute. You ever ask yourself, hey, where do you get this nisab from? How you come up with the nisab in the first place? Understand what is the nisab, right? There's what? We go with gold, right? There are those who go with silver, and we'll discuss that afterwards, right? We go with gold, the Ashra go with gold also, right? The gold nisab now is about $38,000, alright? And we discuss what? The gold and silver, the last 5 minutes, right? To just clear the air. So say what? Wrong up the figure now. Just use that figure that we work. $35,000 in the sub. Alright? How you How you get that what? That figure. Understand? The nisab is actually what? 20 dinar. 20 gold coins. Right? 20 gold coins, right, is equivalent to 87.48 grams. 87.48 grams, right? So if you want to check, simple, you go and check what? Check the nisab yourself. How are you checking that? Sometimes you see, listen, how did the nisab vary like that? What should the Darulum have? The Jamia have different, then the Ashra print different. This thing confusing, eh? No, listen, if you use the price of gold, every single day the price of gold it changes. Forget every single hour, right? The international what price and value of gold it fluctuates. There are slight fluctuation, right? So now we have those who what could use the internet good, right? Like Brother Ansari, right? And we have what? The old school. So the old school now they have to wait on the printout, right? But listen, you just go to what? Goldprice.org, right? Goldprice.org, and this is what we do. This is what the Darulum do. This is what everybody do. To print what? The nisab on right? This is what we do, right? So normally what? When you see we print our own nisab, or anybody print, you'll see what? They'll put a date in it. Why? Because if you go now and check the nisab that somebody gave what? Last week you'll see something, you'll see different, right? Because the price, it vary a little. So what you do? In the goldprice.org, you go on that website, right? You click on what? Gold and silver. You click on gold, right? Click on gold, then click on what? You have ounce and gram. Click on gram, right? Then you click what currency we're looking for. Any currency you want, but we will use the TT currency in Trinidad. So use what? Click on TT dollar. Gold, gram, TT dollar. Right? You enter that, what you're going to get? You're going to get the price of what? 1 gram of gold in the TT currency. 1 gram of gold in the TT currency. How much is in the sub? 87.48. You multiply that by what? 87.48. That is the nisab. And the gold value seen over there is at 24 carat. And this is what we're going to come at. It's a 24 carat gold. That is value over there, right? It's about 40, say about 430, right? Or 430 something for 1 gram. 1 gram at 24 carat gold. So if you want to find how much is in the nisab, you multiply it by 87.48, and this is what? Your nisab. Right? So if you check it today and check it tomorrow, you'll find a few dollars difference. Right? The next year, a few dollars difference. Right? So this is your nisab. So we're coming up now with regards to jewelry. Right? Every single what type of jewelry, it has what? A carat value. It has a carat value. So listen, if Tanti has a bracelet that has what? 10 grams, but the carat value is what? 12 grams. 12 carat. The carat value is what? 12 carat. The grams is how much? 10 grams. The price of 1 carat, any 1 gram of what? Gold is approximately 450. Understand? But you're not going to multiply what? 10 by what? 450. Why? Because 450 represents what? 1 gram of pure gold, 24 carat. You understand? So what? 12 carat now would be what? Half that amount. Right? How much? That is $215. So how much what? When they calculate zakatable asset, she would put what? Gold bracelet, 10 grams multiplied by $215, and this value you're going to get. Right? You don't multiply by 24 carat. And similarly, a person that has what? 18 carat what? Jewelry. You use what? The value of 18 carat. A person has a 14 carat. Use the value of a 14 carat. Right? Listen, this is a one-time thing. Many people what? Their jewelry normally stays, right? You have addition that comes in, but normally what? It stays what? The amount of jewelry. So it's a one-time thing. Go to the jeweler. Two things you're going for. You're going for what? A carat value, and you're going for what? A weight. And you record that, right? Understand? If you have a what? Her bracelet, right? With the passing of the years, what? The weight would increase anyhow. Right? And the carat will increase or decrease. So that fixed. So every year, you know how much what? Right? What will change is that what? 215. Because the value of gold, what? It fluctuates. That will change. So that is the only variable over there. The constant over here remain what? 12 and 10. Alright? So the other one time you go to the jeweler, right? But sometimes when you go to it might create a little problems, right? Because the wife think that my husband buy a nice, expensive jewelry for me, right? 18 carat, 22 carat, and when they go to the jeweler now, you see what? 12 carat. 12 carat. But anyhow, record it and keep it. So this is how you calculate any throughout. See this? No, you have to wait. You already have that weight. Yeah. You have the weight and you have the carat value. So all you're going to calculate, this variable over here is the price of that gold. Alright? The price of the gold. That's how the nisab and it fluctuate. Alright, so the last 5 minutes over here now we're going to spend, right, discussing what? The nisab. The gold nisab or the what? The silver nisab, right? We at the Jamia, a couple of years now, right? We resort to what? The gold nisab, right? And this is what? In line with what? The Sharia, right? The books of Fiqh and the Fuqaha, right? And the jurists, right? There are somewhat institutes that still uses what? Silver. Alright? That still uses silver. We have a whole discussion, right? And we open to discussions also, right? The whole concept of zakah, understand? تُؤْخَذْ مِنْ أَغْنِيَائِهِمْ وَتُرَدُّ عَلَى فُقَرَائِهِمْ. Nabi alayhi salam mentioned, it is taken from the rich and given to the poor. It is taken from the rich and given to the poor, right? But when you use a silver nisab, which is about what, $2,500, right? Some years what, $2,500, right? And a person possessing what, $2,500, and you tell that person, listen, you have to pay zakah. Yeah, what is $2,500? The poorest man living wherever $2,500 he has. Right? A person has $2,500, he has a wife, he has children, he has expensive. What $2,500 is going to do? After the grocery, after this, after bills, what $2,500 is going to do? $2,500, $3,000 does not show richness. Understand? $3,000 doesn't show richness. $2,500 doesn't show richness. Take from the rich and give to the poor. What we are actually doing, we taking from the poor and giving to the poorer. Right? We take from the poor and give to the poorer. Understand? If you have to give your zakah, understand here? If you have to give your zakah, who are you going to find what? In Trinidad? How much people are you going to find in Trinidad that doesn't possess what? $2,500. Huh? We're not speaking of 25 cash, you know. A person may not have cash, but he may have what? Non-zakatable assets that has that worth also. He cannot receive. Understand? In zakat, there are three categories of people. Many people understand two categories, but there are three categories of people with regard to zakat. The first category are those who pay zakat. The second category are those who would receive zakat. This is what most people know. There's a third category that doesn't have to pay zakat, but at the same time cannot receive zakat. Right? And we'll explain all that. So who doesn't have what? $2,500? Who doesn't have $2,500? And how, if you look at what? Trinidad. Look and see, okay, how much is pension in Trinidad? $3,500. Right? Husband and wife. No, in the same household. No, husband get 35, wife get what? 35. And they define that pension with what serve what? The needs, the basic needs of that individual, which is way past what? The nisab of silver. Right? What the silver nisab what? Because of the passing of time had depreciated multiple times, multiple fold. It does not show richness. It does not show affluence. Alright? Many people argue the point that, you know what? It is more beneficial for the poor if we were to use the silver nisab. And that is the concept. مَا هُوَ أَنْفَعُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ. It is more beneficial to the poor if you use the silver nisab. Alright? And the rationale to that is, listen, if we use the silver nisab, then what? More people will be what? Paying zakah. More people will be paying zakah because there will be more people that would have any $2,500 than what having $35,000. So more people will pay zakah. The question is, okay, who are they going to give it to? Who they going to give it to? Right? Using the gold nisab, that is more beneficial to the poor. Why? Because when you use the silver nisab, you making that what? Poor man rich. What you doing actually, you preventing him from receiving zakah. Because if he has the nisab, he can't receive the zakah. So if he has $2,500, right, which would finish in what, 3 days, you go to the grocery, this and that, right, you telling that poor man, we preventing him from receiving zakah. Why? Because he's rich. We make him rich. Possessing $2,500, right, we make him rich. You know who would receive what? Our zakah. You look at, if you scrutinize people properly, who don't possess what? $2,500 or $3,000, that hard to find. Right? You know who would come, who would receive it? right? We have people spending what, $20,000, $30,000 flying from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and come and taking all the zakah here in Trinidad. Like, we don't have poor people in Trinidad. We don't have poor people in Trinidad, right? Why? Because we make all the poor people, we make them rich. The possession of what, $2,500, we make them rich. Alright? Come Qurbani time now. Understand, the same nisab we use for zakah is the same nisab we use for Qurbani. What makes Qurbani obligatory upon a person? If he possesses the what? The nisab. The same nisab. So a man, all he possesses what? $2,500. You tell him what? Qurban is obligatory upon you because you possess the nisab. So what he going to do that $2,500? If Qurban is obligatory upon him, what he has to do? He has to buy an animal. How much for a sheep? 2,500. So you take all the money that you ever possess in your life, right? Because the Sharia mandate that you do Qurbani, and you spend it and you buy a sheep, right? But you have to buy a rope. So you have to borrow money to buy a rope and borrow. That is not the Sharia. People don't understand. The Sharia would never mandate that. When we pay zakah, how much we pay? 2.5%. How much remains? 97.5% remains. The Sharia would never mandate a person owning what? $2,500 or $3,000 to do Qurbani, right, and beg the next day. No, that person doesn't understand the laws of the Sharia, right? So we don't say, you know what, for zakah we going to use this nisab, and for Qurbani we use that. No, it don't work like that, right? It don't work like that. Using the gold nisab, that is more beneficial to the poor, right? That is more beneficial to the poor. And anybody wants to what? Discuss that, argue that, khalas, inshallah we're here to discuss that. Alright? We go with the gold nisab, right? The Ashja gold in the gold nisab. There are many wadar lifters over the world also that goes with the gold nisab. Most of those who what? Live in what? In this part of the world, right? The western part of the world. When the Sheikh al-Hadith, the Sheikh al-Hadith of what? Dearborn, he came in Trinidad, right? Mufti Sa'id Palanpuri, rahimahullah, when he came, right, he was of that opinion, right? Because the silver nisab those days was what? About 250 pounds. The man said, listen, 250 pounds? That is not richness. Them Naukari and servants own that. The servants and Naukaris own 250 pounds. How you can see a man possessing 250 what? Pounds, he rich. And he have to pay zakah and he cannot receive zakah. No. Right? So anyhow, that is we'll stop here. We passed. We went overboard. Right? But that was something that we need to clarify. And if for that clarification, inshallah, would be welcome also. طيب. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.